All right, looks like we're live. Okay, how do I sound? Because this is a older computer, so I hope it don't cut in and out. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you pretty good.
Well, wait. Let me put my mic down. That
Oh,
might
now
help.
you
What about
sound
now?
loud. Yeah, better, way
Cool.
better.
Cool. All right. So I'm excited about this because it's like, we both been looking at things. I know you've come across information.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's a lot that we're. I mean, like we were just saying, we feel overwhelmed because it's just so much to learn, and it's so much being revealed right now. I wanted to deal with the Apocrypha first itself and the literal validity of it before we get into wisdom, because we're gonna have some fun in wisdom. We're gonna have some fun in Isaiah 53, you know, because there's some very simple things that need to be broke down about that because we have a lot of we have a Hosea 11 tep hustler that's trying to tell people, you know, um, what a context is according to how they feel rather than what the text says. So first, as far as the Apocrypha, you know, we have been coming to the conclusion a lot of things are allegorical rather than literal, and that's the main case of that is with the Apocrypha. Most of the people that deal with the Apocrypha, the whole history of the Apocrypha, if you look at the way it was received, it was never ever originally received as a literal work as far as something talking about literal events. They always thought it was allegory. And if you even read some of the stories, you can tell it's allegory, even when you size it up to some of the Bible stories. So real quick, I'm not going to get too much into it, but I just want to touch on a couple things to back that up. I'm going to get deeper in this in other videos or whatever, but there's certain stories in the Apocrypha that are just straight up myth, and they're based on other myths. Before we go in the Apocrypha to try to um, substantiate a literal person that a literal Jesus lived. You see what I'm saying? Like that's not the type of source you would use to do that because it's not a literal historical source that you can count on for that kind of information. You follow
Correct.
me? So, well, anyway, I didn't. Before I even do that, did you have anything? I know you wanted to touch on a couple things. Was there anything you wanted to touch on with some of the things you've been looking at, or did you have any like announcements or anything just on your mind you want people to know first, or
Well,
and then I'll.
one of the things I've been noticing about when I just read this book, period, is
Mm,
it seems that there are a lot of stories in the scriptures that it's like it's the same as some of the stories in Kemet. It's some of the same stories. And especially the story of Hathor. Hathor was the cow goddess, right? And
right.
in her story, in that story, God commanded Hathor to kill all the humans because they couldn't do good, right? Sound familiar, right?
Yep.
Remember the flood? Now, Hathor
Yep.
was commanded that she kill everybody with her menstrual cycle, right? Now,
Right.
here's the thing that's funny about that. They were told to repent from their sins, and they repented. But she was still coming to kill everybody, and she was commanded that, guess what? It was commanded to them that they sit back and dye themselves in red dye so Hathor can pass over them. Now, doesn't that sound like the Passover and the flood at the same time? It's
Yep.
like one story, but an
Yep.
amalgamation of both of the stories. You guys don't believe me? Look it up. You guys can look it up. These are things that we have to deal with, just moving forward as a people, because we're looking at the book as somewhat of a literal book, right? Everything is literal. Everything is literal. But I
Hmm.
don't know if anybody's ever read the teachings of Tahuti, but they're somewhat the same as the teachings of Moses.
Hmm.
But we know Moses went to Egypt for 40 years. It took 40. That's not saying Moses didn't exist, but it is saying that Moses went to Egypt and lived there for 40 years because in Egypt, it took 40 years to be a priest.
Hmm.
Is that a coincidence? You guys still don't believe me? There was a pharaoh by the name of Amenhotep. He himself had a ton of wives. With all his wives, one of the things that he started to do was build temples all over Kemet. You guys don't want to respect that and think, oh, he doesn't believe in the Bible. Yes, I do believe in the Bible. As a matter of fact, the fact that I believe in the Bible is the reason why I'm here to tell you these stories, some of the Bible stories and some of the stories in Kemet all exist. They're
Hmm.
identical, right? Now we have to understand all these people came to Kemet to live. All these the Israelites, everybody. But the thing I'm noticing is that Ptah was also known as I am that I am, right? Now
Hmm.
people will say, "Oh, Chris, you're gone. You're lost. You're lost." No. Who says that the Creator's knowledge isn't put within, set within all people? I
Right.
am starting to see that this is all Nile Valley culture.
Hmm.
It says life began at the Nile, on the Nile. When you read the scriptures themselves, you begin to learn things like when you read Genesis, it says all these rivers, right? Nile
Hmm.
Valley. It's telling you. You know what I'm saying? No matter how you look at this, when you look at it, you see a lot of comparisons with Kemet. You see a lot of stories taken from Kemet. And I think
Hmm.
these things need to be addressed because when you look for a statue of David, where is it? Or a
In
statue of
Rome.
Solomon, where is it? They don't exist.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying?
Oh, I thought you meant the modern ones. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. None of them
Right.
exist, you know? And no matter how pissed off you get about it, the thing is why can't we just deal with it like humans and like people without saying, oh, you don't believe in the Bible.
Right.
I don't have to believe in the Bible. I believe in the one supreme creator of heaven and earth. That's what
See.
I believe in.
Hmm.
You see what I'm saying? No one heard me on here defend
Right.
any gods. No one has heard me do that. But like, we go into the negative confessions of Ma'at. We see the same laws are in Ma'at than they were in Kemet, that were in Israel, right? Now, let me
Right.
go back to the point
Hmm.
where Moses, he was taken into Kemet. He was taken he went into Kemet and he was found in a basket reed, right?
Hmm.
In the river, right? That's not the
Right.
first
That's funny. Well,
story.
let me. Right. Let me just on a side note, not to cut you off, but
Yeah.
um, wasn't there something with the story of Osiris about him as a baby, or something about him being, well, not as a baby, but him being put in a box and sent down the river? Have we heard
Correct.
that
He was
before?
broken up. He was beat up and broken into pieces. And his wife, Offset, pieced him back together.
Hmm.
That's the
Hmm.
story, right? Sounds similar like Jesus, right? Sounds a little similar,
Hmm.
right? But then when we look at the story
Hmm.
itself, he was resurrected after Offset put him back together. And we're going to be doing this lesson next week and let you all compare the stories.
Right.
Let's let the people compare the stories and bring all these stories back together. But when I see
See, and
these
that's the
stories,
thing. Hmm.
go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry. I was just going to say, when you what you're talking about right now, as far as things we can confirm, like you mentioned, there's no statues and there's no authentic, actual historical records of a lot of things that we hold true in the biblical stories. What we can confirm is the stories themselves. The stories themselves, things, elements in the stories existed and were told before by other cultures. That we can confirm. That's the thing
Correct.
about it. Like, that's what we can confirm about it, that this person had. And see, I'm going to do, when I do the Bible Myth 4, it's just going to be dealing with Moses. That's going to be my next video. And that's why we just touching on it right now. But, you know, Moses, when you look at the rod, when you look at the serpents on the rod, when
Oh,
you
I
look at
can't wait to
the
bring that up.
tapping the rock, the
Hmm.
rock and the water coming out the rock, splitting the Red Sea, when you look at all these elements of the story, that's the thing that we got to think, okay, were these told before by other people? Were they told by other cultures that didn't believe in what we call the Torah, or what we were told was the God of Israel? If they have those same elements, then we have to take a look at the true origin of some of these concepts in the stories. You know what I mean? Like, no, like the
Correct.
whole ark thing, which we'll get into. Like, the Egyptians should not have an ark of the covenant. But it's funny, you look at the cherubs and some of the things we call idols, and guess what, Chris? We can see some of those same idols in the Bible.
Con.
But we'll get into that later.
We'll get into that later. Especially the Ark of
Hmm.
the Covenant thing, the one that came down
Yep.
from heaven. Was it given to
Yep.
them also? But when we bring it up, they do this thing where everybody dodges it. But
Hmm.
we look at a King Ramesu II or Amenhotep or we look at all these kings of Kemet and everybody rejects them.
Hmm.
But we'll praise a Saul or we'll praise a Solomon or Hezekiah, but you don't have one statue. But we know
Right.
the Egyptians were people that looked like us and were proud, and they had laws also. Did anybody ever think to look at the teachings of Tahuti and look at some of the literature and the teachings of Tahuti? Did they know that Tahuti was represented higher thought? Tahuti himself was represented by an ibis bird, right? It wasn't a literal man with
Right.
a bird head, but guess what? He had an assistant, and guess what his assistant's name was? Arnan.
Hmm.
So is it that people just choose to say, "Oh, the Egyptians lied"? Was it that when you read the book of Jasher, I think Moses is able to take care of it, keep in touch with his sisters, right? And family in the book of Jasher. But then where was the infant side at? You understand what I'm saying? Where was the infant side?
Right.
Or maybe he went to Egypt to learn there 40 years in order to become a high priest to lead his people. Because it took 40 years in order for you to learn as a high priest in Egypt.
Hmm. Which of those priests dressed just like Levites, by the way?
They dress like Levites, by the way. Exactly. But when your ancestors do it, it's paganism. I'm sorry, let me just say, when Africans do it, it's paganism. But when you
Right.
do it, it's divine inspiration. When we do it, or an Israelite movement does it, it's divine inspiration.
See,
But they
that's what's
still
so
have their
important.
temples up.
Hmm.
Everything is about this. And you cannot, and I'll say this, be the first to say this. You can't look at the Bible and say history. You can't define history throughout these scriptures. You have to go outside the Bible when trying to learn about King Cyrus or Darius or the Sicilians or the
Hmm.
Medes. You have to go outside the Bible to learn historically about them because they're mentioned, but they're mentioned in the Bible, but you really don't know who they are. Everybody in this Bible, in the book of Genesis, they go to Egypt.
Hint, hint.
Everybody. I asked somebody one question. When was Ham born? Some people say 1500 BCE. And I'll be all like this, okay, The pyramids was built way before that. They're towering out the sky. You know how many hundreds and thousands of years it take to build up that kind of knowledge?
But you know what? You might come across a Hotep, I mean a Hosea Tep hustler that'll say that Abraham taught the Egyptians how to make the pyramids and give them not that type of knowledge and stuff like that. So, you know, we have to be careful what people call history. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't just when people say stuff like that, you got to find something to follow it up and back it up with. You see what I'm saying?
Correct.
And that's something that people took out of Josephus or whatever. But I'm just saying, like a lot of things we learn in religion, we took that and we just said that's it. And it's like we didn't dig further into where this stuff comes from.
Right.
We just said, okay, this is this book right here. Everything in this book and everything my pastor or minister said, that's all I need. Everything else is evil and pagan. Those people over there that are ham, quote unquote, they're evil, they're wicked, and not realizing like what you said, the same traditions those people are doing, some of which we even call quote unquote pagan. A lot of the same stuff they're doing, it can be connected. And it's sort of like rather than to destroy our connections with other cultures, religion breaks those things. A lot of those
Correct.
things in those cultures actually coincide with things we see in the Bible more than what people say it's against it or evil. What reason do we really have? And we'll get into this, but what is the real reason why we villainize Egypt or we villainize
Because the book
Canaan?
told
You see
us
what I'm saying?
to. The book
Right.
told us to.
A book, yeah.
It tells us to. I was sitting up there, really focusing on the story of Ham, Shem, and Japhet, and I was meditating on it. And I asked myself a
Hmm.
question. Why is it that Ham has all these cities, right? They have all
Hmm.
these cities. They are built up to the sky. Ham has all these cities built up to the sky. But yet, watch this. But yet, the first thing we read, right? Let me reiterate this. Ham has all these cities built into the sky, and Shem is a wanderer. He doesn't have a place to stay. This is supposed to be the chosen line,
Right.
and Japhet just stealing from everybody. Japhet has cities. Shem is just a wanderer and stealing from Ham all day long.
Yeah. I think it's because it
You
sets you up
know,
for that term Hebrew.
mm-hmm. Or it justifies other nations coming to steal from Africa.
Yeah. Hmm.
And then people want to say, because God said so. And you fall into that. Instead of not going to research how it got put in this book, the racist ham allegory. Look it up. The Conference of Jamia, 90 AD. Go read it. They added that in there. It's a historical war that has gone on between us and all the nations on earth for eons. They don't like us. They don't kill you because you're an Israelite. They don't kill you because you're Puerto Rican. They don't kill you because you're Mexican. They kill you because you're Black and you're an African. And there's no way around that. And instead of
What I
coming
always say.
behind one, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
And instead of coming behind each other and trying to learn from one another, we just continue to tear each other down. We're
Hmm.
separated. I'm into Kemet. I'm into Kemet. I'm into being a Hebrew. Beautiful. Both of them were in Egypt. Both of them learned from each other. Now, somebody will take everything I just said and say, oh my God, he no longer believes in the Bible. Nope, didn't say that. Which you're making the Bible an idol away because you're not supposed to believe in anything other than the Creator.
Hmm.
You see? But I'm gonna let you
I
go
mean,
ahead. I've
if you
spoken
want to be
enough.
technical,
If you want to
oh
be
yeah, you're fine.
technical,
Yeah, I was
correct.
gonna say, yeah, if you want to be technical about it, the Canaanites believe in the Bible. The Egyptians believe in the Bible. A lot of other people believe in the Bible because their stories are in the Bible.
Correct.
You see what I'm saying? Like it's sort of like why are the same what we call myths in the same book that condemns these same people for believing in those myths? That's the thing.
Yeah, man.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like at some point you gotta be like, hold up. And so, yeah, I wanted to read some of those myths right now, which is in
Go
the
ahead.
guess where Apocrypha. Oh, but first, just to touch on what you said about the whole African versus Hebrew mess stuff, this is the thing. For years now, I've been saying if you're going to deal with the whole Ham and Shem identification marker, there's no way if you're going to do that, there's not really a way to really identify if you're either one. Why?
Right.
Well, you would have to assume that all those people on the slave ships were just Israelites. Now, if you're going to say that some Israelites migrated into West Africa over a course of what, 1,000 years, something or other, okay? Within 1,000+ years, you're going to tell me that there was no intermixing, there was no Hamites that are part of the same family of these pure blood Hebrews or whatever you want to say. You're going to tell me that when people were caught to put on those slave ships, you're going to tell me, number one, none were Hamites. And number two,
Thank you.
those that even, let's say they knew the difference, you're going to tell me some of them weren't mixed with what we call Hamites.
Thank you.
Even if you didn't, I mean, there's no way to really say, I know I'm not Ham, if you're going to even deal with Shem and Ham. But there's no way for us to say, I'm not Ham or I'm not Shem, or you can't. The only thing we can go by is languages and culture.
Correct.
And that's all over anyway. So you can't, there's no way to tell somebody you're a Hamite, you're this, you're wicked, you're dirty, you're that because you're not like me. Well, I can't prove what I am. So, we came off the same boats. And, it's sort of like I just said, what would I look like saying no Hamites were involved in the slave trade? What would I look like saying no Hebrews over thousands of years mixed with Hamites over that time before the slavery, for the African slave trade? What would I look like saying that?
Who you think you are?
Nobody mixed in 1,000 years. It's just all Hebrews. They weren't mixing it. Man, get out of here. It
Right.
doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
Right.
So anyway, I'm just going to read something real quick. Like I said, this isn't in detail. This is just something to give people an idea of some things that I'll be talking about later. I've been talking about mythology in the Bible, and now I'm going to deal with mythology in the Apocrypha. Um, this is just a part from the book Did Moses Exist? Page 227, dealing with the great dragon. Now, there's lots of mythology about the great dragon, Typhon, the serpent, what have you, right? Well, there's a book in the
Mm.
Apocrypha called Bel and the Dragon. Okay, so this says this great dragon, an ancient serpent, can be found in the biblical book of Revelation as well, just giving you ideas of the whole ancient serpent picture, right? You can find that all over, including Revelation. It says, battled with the solar hero. The great dragon, an ancient serpent, battling with a solar hero. That's the concept of a lot of the mythology, okay? It says Jesus Christ, and he's specially styled there as Dracon and Ophis. It says the great dragon, the ancient serpent called the devil and Satan, who is thrown down. That's how it's described in Revelation. And it says the diabolical dragon slash snake represents the same type of monster of the deep, signified by the repeated biblical references to sea monsters, serpents, leviathans, or whales, as the King James Version renders Tanaim. or I might be saying that wrong. Uh, Tanin, which is Genesis 1:21, and whales too, like the whole Jonah thing. You can get with that the whole thing where it says he went into hell, but that's the deep. Again, that whole monsters of the deep type of thing, right?
Right.
So anyway, which that's another thing, how a man can survive underwater 3 days. But anyway, um, you see what I'm saying? Like a lot of
Correct.
these things weren't written to be literal in the first place. So anyway, just give me 1 second.
Sure. And don't worry, audience, the energy is going to pick up. I promise you that. Oh, I
Hmm.
promise you that. Because we're going to
Oh, we
address the
just yeah,
elephant in
we
the
just
room today.
oh yeah, yeah. Okay, so let me go straight into something that I saw concerning this whole some of the things in the Apocrypha. Like I said, I can deal with it in depth later.
Don't answer the
But
phone, Sal.
what's that?
That's my new battle cry for you know
What's that?
who, Josh
Oh,
from ABT. Don't answer the phone, Sal. Mister, I don't. If it's Chris, don't answer the phone, Sal.
yeah, he's got a new one. It used to be what was it? Oh, mute him, Sal. Now it's what's his new one? Give me what I want. That's what it is. Yeah. Okay. So and
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna see this is the thing we're gonna find out about wisdom in the Apocrypha in Isaiah 53. Give me what I want, but what I want is Bugs Bunny is what the context of who is being spoken of in Isaiah 53. If you don't establish the context of what's being talked about, you don't get to make claims of what people need to tell you. You have to first establish,
That's
we'll
right.
get into it. You got to first establish that it is what you say it is.
That's right.
You see what I'm saying? Which he
That's
don't do.
right.
But we get to that in just a minute. I just want to check this out. Now see, let me get the page. Okay, this is a book called The Oxford Companion to World Mythology by David Leeming. Now, it's dealing with a myth of Danel and Aquat. Okay, this is a
Mm-hmm.
Canaanite tale of King Danel and his son, who is the hero Aquat. And this is now Danel. If you add the I, you get Daniel. Okay, which in the Hebrew language, you add the yod. Without the yod, it's the same Canaanite word they're using for Daniel, but that's getting into other stuff. But basically, like I was saying about the language, there's just little tweaks that make it Hebrew, but that's getting into other stuff. This is the thing. It says the hero Aquat is contained in fragments of 3 Ugaritic tablets from Ras Shamra. And just to go a little bit further, well, let me just read a little more. Okay, it says, as the tale opens, Danel is performing a 7-day ritual in hopes of being granted a son and heir. And that's another thing, Chris. The whole 7 days, 40 days, those are all hints. You see what I'm saying? That they're talking about something else. It's an allegory for something else. Sometimes it has to do with completing some type of a cycle or something
Mm-hmm.
like that. Okay. And so that even they use stuff like 40 days, 7 days, which lets you further know, like in the Bible, is it really literally talking about something that really happened for this amount of time? The other people were using that same terminology in their myths. You follow me?
Con.
But anyway, yeah. So it says his patron god Baal, like Bel, right, hears his
Right.
prayers and intercedes for him with the high god El. El agrees that Danel shall have a son, and after appropriate ministrations by childbirth and marriage goddesses, Danel's wife conceives. Blah blah blah. It goes on. Hold on 1 second. Okay, now it says Aquat's conception and birth therefore have something of the miraculous or at least extraordinary element present at the beginning of so many hero myths. See that? Remember how we were saying a lot of them are similar, right? The
Right.
hero myths, Heru and different, what people
Oh,
call
your
horrors. A
inner
lot of things
hero,
we can
your
get into
inner
a whole, I
hero, or
mean,
your inner Heru. Wow, never
mhm.
heard of it.
It says basically a lot of these elements in this story you can find in other stories of heroes, including, for instance, those of Isaac, Moses, Jesus, Sargon, which I'm gonna deal with when we deal with Moses, and Theseus. Let's see. I don't want to get too far into this. War goddess wants to weapon. Okay, look. The impetuous love and war goddess Anat wants the weapons for herself and attempts to bribe Aquat with precious objects and eventually with immortality. That reminds us of Isis and a lot of other stuff, right? The
Right.
temptress. Okay, we see that echoed in the Bible and stuff too. Okay, so blah blah blah. Um, In keeping with the heroic formula of patriarchal cultures, Aquat refuses the bribes and does so rudely, questioning the goddess's hunting prowess and, by extension, the ability of women in general to perform masculine deeds. Gilgamesh had insulted Inanna slash Ishtar in a similar manner. And several Indo-European
Mm-mm.
heroes, including, for instance, you see what I'm saying? Including, for instance, the Irish uh, Cuchulainn act out of formula with angry goddesses. The result of the insult is usually disastrous. Okay, so they're just saying some of the similarities with this type of a story. It says it leads to the hero's death and or to the barrenness of the land. Okay, okay. Moving on, it says reluctantly El agrees to his daughter Anat's demand of revenge. The goddess sends for follower Yatpan in the form of a bird to accomplish her wishes. Form of a bird, similar to Isis, right? But it says, and Aquat is bludgeoned to, I might be saying that wrong, to death. Aquat is bludgeoned to death as he is eating. Immediately the land dries up, and soon Dano learns of his son's murder. Finding bits of Aquat's body and the guts of the vultures that had been hovering ominously over his house, Dano buries them and begins a 7-year period of mourning, a metaphor for a 7-year drought. Now, this is where it gets into how it connects. It says, it is left to the brave Pagat, Daniel's daughter, and Ugaritic Electra to avenge her brother's murder. She decorates her body with robe and a beautiful robe and makes her way to Yatpan's camp with a concealed dagger. There, she seduces her enemy into a state of drunkenness. That sounds familiar. Like JL, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. During which
Mm-hmm.
he boasts of killing a quat. Although part of the tablet, and that's again, in my other video, you can connect JL with like that Greek goddess. I can't remember the name at this point, but that same story can be found in other myths as well. But it says in this particular one, although part of the tablet is missing, we can assume that she achieves her goal of revenge, much as, ironically, Anat had avenged the death of her brother Baal. Okay. Pagat has a possible analog in the Hebrew Judith, who decapitates the drunken Holofernes. Same thing you read in the book of Judith and the Apocrypha is what we just read in this Ugaric myth, in this Canaanite myth, right?
Right.
So it says Michael Coogan finds a coincidence of themes here. That's an interesting way to put it. Coincidence of themes,
Interesting.
right?
Correct.
Yeah. The death of Baal and Aquat, as well as of Osiris in Egypt, represent threats to fertility. It is possible that as a not dismembered Baal's killer, which is death or Mot, Pagat might well have dismembered Yatpan in such context fertility myths. such as the Osiris myth. Dismemberment also often involves the scattering of the dismembered body as seed. Coogan believes that the Aquat story continued in the tradition of so many hero myths, with the hero's restoration to life and the consequent return of fertility to the fields. I just wanted to hone in on the part where the daughter, you saw the connection with Judith and what the daughter did, where she went in the camp and killed, the enemy. She had a concealed dagger, got him drunk, went to his place, got him, he was drunk, killed him while he was drunk. You can see that what you see in the book of Judith matches up with that. Also, it says, I wanted to, and we're going to get back to Bell and the Dragon because I mentioned that, but I wanted to show that Bell and the Dragon, that has something to do with mythology, but so does Judith. So we got two examples I'm going to deal with as far as finding mythology in the Apocrypha. Now, Bell and the Dragon, this is Wikipedia. Okay. Like I said, this is just real quick, and then I want to get into wisdom. And it says, one second. The chapter contains a single story that may previously have represented three separate narratives, which place Daniel at the court of Cyrus, king of Persians. Okay. Now we're gonna. It's really the story. It's a retelling of the story of Daniel, but the original Bible Daniel story in this one. But be able to see what it talks about with Cyrus, it can't possibly literally happen to the real Cyrus. So basically, what happens in the story. Let me get to, I want to just touch on one specific part of the story. Okay, now this is what happens in the story real quick. Daniel, he is trying to be convinced to worship Bel, and there's statues of Bel and a dragon that Cyrus wants him to worship. He refuses, and then so he says, why don't you put food in front of it and see if it'll eat it to show if that's who we need to worship, which we've seen that before, right, Chris?
Correct.
With the Dagon story in the Bible. Remember, I told you this stuff, if it's really literal, is it really going to repeat the same events over and over just like that? Same thing with Abraham in the book of Jasher. Nimrod. He had to, well, actually, Abraham in Jasher, he was trying to do the same thing with his father who was worshiping idols and was convincing him they're not real the same exact way. You see what I'm saying? So 3 instances already of this type of a situation. Now, is this something that did these 3 things really happen, or is it something that's allegory for each of them dealing with a certain idea, certain myth, certain ideology? So basically, what happens is some priests go into the, I'm not going to read it. This is in Bel and the Dragon and the Apocrypha. Some priests go in there, put food there, and make it look like it was eaten by the god. And so when Cyrus goes in there, basically Daniel reveals that those priests did that on purpose. They saw the footsteps or whatever. And so Cyrus is convinced that that's not the real God. So he starts worshiping the God of Daniel. And the Babylonians in the story get mad at Cyrus. They want to overthrow him. And they blame Daniel. So they said, we're going to kill Daniel because of how he's influenced Cyrus, basically. So what they do is put him in the lion's den, right? Which it talks about there's 7 lions and a certain amount of, the number 40 and 7, that's in there too. You see how they always throw that stuff in?
Yeah.
So, but anyway, I didn't want to get into it. I'll get into it more deeper later. But the thing is, let me read the part where how he kills this serpent. Because, well, I'm sorry. After the statue is shown to be fake, what happens is next there's a real dragon in the same room. Okay. It says a real dragon. Whether you want to substitute it with serpent or not, there's a real dragon. So what he does, Daniel takes something and kills the dragon. So Daniel is the dragon killer in this story. It says, then Daniel took pitch and fat. This is verse 27 in Bel and the Dragon. Then Daniel took pitch and fat and hair and did seethe them together and made this he put in the dragon's mouth. And so the dragon burst in sunder, blew up. And Daniel said, lo, these are the gods ye worship. Right? Now look at this. But see, we're supposed to believe this really happened, though, right? And then it also says that while they had him in later, when they had Daniel in the lion's den, that the prophet Habakkuk, an angel, he was fixing some food. An angel came to him and said, "You need to feed Daniel. How am I going to get to Babylon? Because he wasn't in Babylon. How am I going to get there?" The angel literally takes Habakkuk to Daniel to feed him, then takes him all the way back home. Okay. Like I said, when you look at the Apocrypha, the history of it, everybody knew they were just stories that weren't supposed to be taken literally. So anyway, back to Bel and the Dragon in Wikipedia, it says in the Midrash, where straw was fed, in which nails were hidden, or skins of camels were fed with hot coals. In that version, that's what was fed to the serpent in the Midrash. Now it says also is giving you examples of this same event happening in different ways in different stories. It says, or in the Alexander cycle of romances, it was Alexander the Great who overcame the dragon by feeding it poison and tar. The parallel with the contest between Marduk and Tiamat. This is the Babylonian myth. Marduk, which is where you can connect that with Bel or the serpent, and Tiamat, in which winds controlled by Marduk burst Tiamat open. And it says barley cake plays the same role as the wind, eating something. That comes from that myth.
Wind again.
So anyway, that's just a little bit of it. I'm going to get more deeper into that, but basically that's just those two. There's all kinds of other myths where you have the hero destroying the dragon or the serpent. Question that we have to ask, Chris, is story telling a real serpent, or is it based on other myths or other ideas? You see what I'm saying? And they're using the same terminology, Bel and the dragon. Huh?
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
They're giving you the name Bel and the dragon. Marduk was the myth that originally we had the same situation with Marduk in the myth of the god that is talked about in the Bible, the Baal. The same myth that the pagans believe is what's being used, what Daniel's doing. But anyway, wisdom 2. I know I talked too long about that.
I want to
just get that. Hey, yeah. So okay, now wisdom 2. This is. Let me get to that. Okay. So this is the thing. Okay. If you're gonna remember, I told you about establishing context about what something is. If I'm gonna be a Hosea 11 tep hustler and tell somebody to start in verse 12, wisdom 2 and 12 in the Apocrypha, and say, look, that's Jesus. That's the individual Jesus spoken of in the New Testament. Right? If you start at 12, it says, therefore, let us lie in wait for the righteous, because he is not for our turn, and is clean contrary to our doings. He upbraideth us with our offending the law, and objecteth to our infamy, the transgressings of our education. Chris, now how are you going to tell me that R is not in the New Testament? How are you going to tell me that's not Jesus in the Chris, just from that verse, what reason do you have to think that's talking about Jesus or any characters, any literal characters at all in the New Testament? Just from that.
Man, because you have to have the belief that this is talking to him. You know what I'm saying? It's like you said before. You said that he said that lesson wasn't for us. It was for the other people. You see what I'm saying? So whenever you open a lesson up like that, you're automatically saying, sorry guys, I'm not going to be able to prove to the Tanakh only people that this is not literal, but I can prove to you that it's literal. I can prove to you that this is Jesus, but I can't prove to them. Because see, they actually read. We have a belief. We're told to believe. They're told to be obedient.
So what would you say if somebody brought that verse to you? What would you say it's talking about? Like, what's your take on that verse? What would you, what do you get out of that?
So we're in
just that one verse, and then we're going to deal with the whole thing.
We're in
Wisdom 2
of,
and 14 or 12.
Let's go to Wisdom 2 and 14 and 12.
Wisdom of Solomon.
Right?
Yeah.
It said, therefore, let us lie in wait for the righteous, because he is not of our turn, and he is clean to our doings. He upbraideth us with our offending the law, and objective to our infamy, the transgressions of our education. Now, first of all, you got to, if you read this, first of all, this is not how the Hebrews wrote. This is not how they wrote. They did not express themselves in their literature like this. Second of all, what prophet wrote this? No prophet wrote this. No prophet of Yah wrote this. Who wrote this?
They don't know who wrote it.
Exactly. But you want to go into the prophets and then not deal with the prophets. That's not how this works.
That's and then the he and works. Us. Now you see how it says he and us, right?
Right.
Now we're supposed to be able to define exactly who the he and the us is from this, right? Now he'll be like, "Give me what I want." Well, we can't tell yet who the he and the us is, right? Why? But you want us to tell you what it is. We can't. We haven't established it. So let's do something crazy, Chris. Let's do something that's nuts. Let's go to verse 1. And
thank you. Let's go to verse 1. Get the context.
Let's try that and see if we get context. That crazy word, right? Okay, so verse 1 it says, "Look, for the ungodly said." Now let's see if we can establish if the us and me has anything to do with any particular person in the New Testament, right? Like the Hosea 11 Tep Hustler says. It says, "For the ungodly said, reasoning with themselves, but not aright, our life is short and tedious, and in the death of a man there is no remedy. Neither was there any man known to have returned from the grave." We're not talking about anybody in particular yet, right? You know why? Because it's a poem. Like Proverbs. Don't it sound like Proverbs?
Sounds just like Proverbs.
Right. So that means it's not supposed to be a literal event. It's a pictorial, it's expressing something.
It's an allegorical
like it's giving
proverb.
You a picture of something.
That's all it is.
That's it. So look, we got that so far. We're already on verse 2. Okay, great. Okay. So we are born at all adventure, and we shall be hereafter as though we had never been. For the breath of our nostrils is as smoke, and a little spark in the moving of our heart. Which being extinguished, our body shall be turned to ashes, and our spirit shall vanish as the soft air. That sounds like Ecclesiastes, right? and our names shall be forgotten in time, and no man shall have our works in remembrance, and our life shall pass away as the trance of a cloud, and shall be dispersed as a mist that is driven away with the beams of the sun and overcome with the heat thereof. I didn't want to have to read all this, but I have to do that so we can see what leads up to verse 12. You see what I'm saying? Like, you got to read all of it. So far, we don't have any literal people, right? It's
Nothing.
giving you an idea, right? Okay. It says, "For our time is a very shadow that passeth away, and after our end there is no returning, for it is fast sealed, so that no man cometh again. Come on, therefore, let us enjoy the good things that are present, and let us speedily use the creatures like as in youth. Let us fill ourselves with costly wine and ointments, and let no flower of the spring pass by us. Let us crown ourselves with rosebuds before they be withered. Let none of us go without his part of our voluptuousness. Let us leave tokens of our joyfulness in every place, for this is our portion, and our lot is this." Okay? Talking about people in general, just giving you an idea. Now we're in 10. We're 2 verses above. We're almost to 12, right? So in the next 2 verses, we need to see something about Jesus and the apostles, right? Okay.
Right.
So let's see. Let us oppress the poor righteous man. Wait, us? Have we established that us is the Pharisees or anybody in the New Testament as of yet, Chris?
Not yet.
So we got the us already.
We got the
The us
us.
is just whoever they talking about, that this can apply to anybody. It's a proverb, you know. It's advice, or however you want to put it. It's an allegory, a general allegory, and that's what the us applies to. So we got the us. Let us oppress the poor, righteous, spare the widow. Let us not spare the widow, nor reverence the ancient gray hairs of the age. Let our strength be the law of justice, for that which is feeble is found to be nothing worth. It's they're saying, let us be this way, right? Let us, let us not do so let us oppress the poor righteous man. Let us not spare the widow. These are things we're supposed to do as far as, you know, um, being righteous, right?
Nothing new. We read about that in
Nothing new.
Zechariah. We read about it all throughout the
Right.
scriptures. We're not supposed to do
Right.
this.
But this is a teaching of Jesus, though, right? It's a teaching of Christ, right? See, the thing is, let's say Jesus said something like this in the New Testament. Well, this kind of thing is spoken of a lot of times. That doesn't mean it's just something that was. See, he said this is a prophecy of Jesus based on Isaiah 53. You know that?
That's what it said. That's what he said.
I'll say that again. He said this is what we're reading right now is a prophecy of Jesus based on Isaiah 53. Who in their right mind would think that so far? Now, let's keep going. We're at now we're at 12. So we're talking about it's a parable about how people think. Let's do this, that's bad. Let's do that, that's bad. So it said, therefore, let us, same us, let us lie in wait for Jesus Christ, so we can put him on a cross and nail his hands and feet and spit on him. And oh wait, hold up, that's not what I'm. See, I almost messed up and added something to what people call scripture. So I have to be careful for that, right, Chris?
That's right. Don't add.
So
Deuteronomy
so
4 and
let's see
4.
what it really said. Yeah, it said, therefore, let us lie in wait for the righteous. Remember, we're talking about an allegory of wicked people and righteous people. So right now it's saying, let us lie in wait for the righteous. Chris, is that a real actual person that's going to live, a real character or person that's going to be alive one day? The righteous, right here.
No, it doesn't say anything like that.
Okay. All right. Are we playing games right now? Or are we just
Uh,
reading?
or somebody doesn't understand
I think you're
allegory.
playing. I think you're a host. What I think is, I think you a Hotep hustler, Chris. That's what I think. I think you trying to twist the scripture and make it something other than Jesus. That's what I think you doing, Chris.
Oh man, New Testament
You see how
Christian
people do?
hustlers. Got to keep my congregation. That's what it is, man. That's what it is.
I mean, seriously.
And
Now
then
look,
here's the
it says the
thing. Go
righteous.
ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Go
No,
ahead.
go
The
ahead.
righteous. I've
The
already did the
righteous. It says,
lesson showing everybody that there is no human sacrifice in the scriptures. Everywhere that you used to go, Josh, and I'll call your name out because I don't throw rocks and hide my hands. Everywhere
mm-hmm.
that you said was human sacrifice, I've already addressed all that, showing that it wasn't human sacrifice, but it was judgment and punishment. No human
Mm-hmm.
sacrifice. If a
Yeah.
priest didn't do it, it's not a human sacrifice. I've already showed that somebody didn't die for somebody else's sins, like the story with Joshua and Achan. I showed you. Nobody else died for what Achan did. Achan died for his own sins.
Mm-hmm.
There's
And the reason why
nowhere
I'm
you can
going through all
run.
this. Mm-hmm. See this what I'm doing right here. See how we can see we just established what's really being spoken of here, and that it's not a certain individual. This is exactly what he does with Isaiah 53, which we will go to next. That's why I'm dealing with this first, so you can see what has been done, and we're going to transfer that and see the exact same thing is with Isaiah 53 and verse 1, telling you what it's talking about, but not establishing what it's talking about. You have to establish it's talking about a righteous man. You can't just tell somebody that.
Right.
Well, you could, but hopefully people do a background check and find out what it really is and don't just believe you. So it says in verse, where was I? Okay, therefore let us lie in wait for the righteous. Because they're already saying, let's do this bad stuff, right? In general, it says, because he is not for our turn, he, now, we already saw that it says the righteous, okay? When we saw wisdom as being a woman in the Bible, right? Is that described as a she, Chris?
So let's go over that again. Let's do it
You
again.
see what I'm saying?
That's
What
being
I'm saying,
described of it.
yeah. But the thing is, he wants to make it individual because it says he, but what we're talking about is the righteous in general. Just like if you say wisdom is a woman, and then you start describing that woman as a she, should
Right.
I make that she a literal character or person? No, because we have the
No.
context of it being wisdom,
Right.
and
That's what I was getting ready to
it's an
do.
allegory. So in a
Right.
poem, you can make wisdom a she. In a poem, you can make the righteous a he. It's a poem. You see, I mean,
Mm.
anyway, it says he is not for our turn, and he is clean contrary to our doings. He upbraideth us with our offending the law. I read that. Let's skip to 13. I don't feel like going over that again. It says he professeth to have the knowledge of God, and he calleth himself the child of the Lord. He being what? The righteous.
The righteous.
He was, yeah, the righteous. That's the he. The he, it says he was made to reprove our thoughts. He, the righteous, is because they want to do bad stuff. They want to do what they want to do, right? We read that.
Correct. That's correct.
He is grievous unto us even to behold, for his life is not like other men's. His ways are of another fashion. Who? The righteous.
Now, can I read something
We
right
are
quick?
esteemed of him. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because he never finishes reading everything. He only reads you
Mm-hmm.
all what he wants you to hear, right?
Mm-hmm.
Believe it or not, it's actually very occultic behavior. All right.
Right.
I'm going to read half of it. Now,
Mm-hmm.
when we just read about he being the righteous, let's just see what Isaiah 50, and we're not going to jump ahead to Isaiah 53. This is,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to show you all what Isaiah 53 is truly speaking about. And it says
Mm-hmm.
right here in Isaiah 53 and 11. Now, remember, we said he is the righteous people, right? It say right here in Isaiah
Mm-hmm.
53 and 11, it says, by his his knowledge, my righteous servant shall justify many. It says, for by his knowledge, my righteous servant shall justify many. For he shall bear their iniquities. It does not say
Mm-hmm.
by blood, by righteousness. You can cleanse your way just by stopping doing evil. It teaches that in this book.
Mm-hmm. What verse is that again? What verse is that again?
That's Isaiah 53 and 11.
Okay. 11. Okay. Mm-hmm. And look, check this out. And that's another thing. Isaiah 53, that's a parable. I mean, it's a parable talking about something that is real, a real thing that's described in Isaiah 52. Yes. But even though it's talking about something that happened in Isaiah 52, it's still painting you a allegoric picture of what happened in Isaiah 52. You see what I'm saying? That's
Correct.
why it sounds like wisdom. That's
Right.
why it sounds like wisdom of Solomon. So I'm pretty much done with wisdom too. I just want to go down a little bit and show the breakdown of what it's talking about, because whenever you see these things, it gives you kind of a summary of everything later, and we're going to read that in Isaiah 53 and 54 too. But it says down in verse 21. We'll do 23. Verse 23 says, "For God created man to be immortal and made him to be the image of his own eternity. Nevertheless, through envy of the devil came death into the world, uh, and they that are of his side do find it. They being anybody that is wicked. But look, the souls of the righteous." This sums up everything we've been talking about. The souls of the righteous are in the hand of God, and there shall no torment touch them.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Wait, hold
Jesus
up.
was a righteous man.
Yeah, and wait, didn't something touch? Didn't he get some torment? Or wait, did I?
He was forsaken. Let's deal with Isaiah 53. Let's get it.
Yeah, let's go to
We
Isaiah
finna
50.
destroy this. We finna
Yeah.
destroy this real quick.
Oh my goodness, it's talking about the righteous. We saw that. My
Josh,
God,
I
Isaiah
used to
53.
think just
Now
like
look.
you, Josh. I used to think just like you. I used to think I was right about everything and didn't want to listen to nobody. Let's get this.
53. Now this is the thing. 53, and now look, I'm gonna do like them. Um, you start at 53. Who has believed our report, and to whom is the arm of the Lord revealed? For he shall grow up before him as a tender plant. See that he is Jesus. See that? I started off in verse 1. See, there's no chapter division. We start off 53 and 1, but this is actually a continuing thought. Wait, this is the thing, Chris. This is what they never deal with. What is the report? Now, if you don't know what the report is, how can you tell me it's talking about a man or any person or anything? How can you tell me what it's talking about if you don't first establish what the report is? Because that's what it's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't we do that? Let's do something crazy again, okay? Let's go back before verse 1 and go into the chapter before. Isaiah 52 and 1 really gives it away, but let's read it anyway. It says, "Awake, awake, put on thy strength, O Zion, put on thy beautiful garments, O Jerusalem, the holy city." Beautiful garments. I thought Israel was, you see what I'm saying? Like Israel, this Zion, this Jerusalem, it seems like this Jerusalem or Zion is doing right, don't it, Chris?
Now,
Beautiful garments, right?
right, but
Interesting.
I want to show
Hmm.
everybody something real quick.
Right. Uh-huh.
The first verse is always the key when reading scripture,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Now, this is saying who has believed our report because the
Hmm.
Israelites want to let everybody know we have the one true God on our side, right?
Hmm.
And then he says, he's like addressing this to the Israelites. And then he readdresses this to them and he says, who has the arm of the Lord been revealed? He's saying, who has the arm of the Lord been revealed to? Right? But let me just read
Right.
something real quick.
It
Okay,
references
I'm gonna
something
go
else, don't it, Chris?
right.
Yeah.
I want to
Hmm.
go to Isaiah. I mean Exodus 6:6. So now we got
Okay.
to find out why the arm of the what this arm of the Lord is. Right. So I'm gonna go to Exodus chapter 6 verse 6. Right.
Exodus 6:6.
And it reads, therefore say to the children of Israel, I am the Lord. I will bring you out from underneath, from under the burdens of the Egyptians. I will rescue you from their bondage, and I will redeem you with an outstretched arm and with great judgment. I will take you as my people, and I will be your God. Then you shall know that I am the Lord your God who brings you out from the burdens of the Egyptians. Was that the arm of the
Hmm.
Lord?
Yep.
He just said it. You see, it says right here,
Hmm.
for he shall grow up to him as a tender plant. Let's stay in the prophet Isaiah. Let's see who this tender plant is. That's Jesus. That's
Hmm.
Jesus, right? Another 2,000 year prophecy. Let's go. Let's get
Hmm.
Isaiah chapter 5 verse 7, and it says, "For the vineyard of the Lord of hosts is the house of Israel, and the men of Judah are his
Isaiah 5
pleasant
and 7,
plant."
right?
Yep, Isaiah 5 and
Okay.
7.
Say that one. Read that one more time. I think I talked over you. Say that one more time. Isaiah 5 and 7, right?
It says, "For the vineyard of the Lord of hosts is the house of Israel, and the men of Judah are his pleasant plants."
Hmm.
You see?
Hmm.
They don't want. Oh, Chris, now you skipping ahead. You skipping ahead. You not reading verse 1. Sure, I'll read it because I don't throw stones and hide my hands. It says,
Right.
now, Isaiah chapter 5, verse 1. It says, now let me sing to my well beloved, to my well beloved, a song of my beloved regarding his vineyard.
Hmm.
See, there's that tender plant growing up before the Most High.
Is that a Jesus song,
Man,
Chris? Because we're
it's a
going to deal
song
with
for the Most
songs
High.
too. Oh,
Right, we're
okay.
going to deal with
Okay.
that.
Okay.
We're going to
Hmm.
deal with that. Let's
That's
continue
going to
on.
come back. Yeah.
Right. And it says, and as a root out of dry ground, he has no form of comeliness when we see him. There is
Mm.
no beauty that we should desire him. Now, you know something funny, Joel? When I was reading this and trying to show Josh why this plant has no form or comeliness anymore, I was trying to show him that because of the captivities, the people began to look at them and say, this is Zion.
Hmm.
This is what's going on. This is the Most High. These are the Most High's people. Look at them. You
Hmm.
see what I'm saying? I want to show you something.
Right.
Let's go to Micah chapter 4, verse 11.
11.
I mean, Micah chapter 4, verse 11.
Okay.
And it says, now also many nations have gathered against you. These are the people looking at them who say, let her be defiled and let our eye look upon Zion. They're looking
Okay.
at them. They're saying, look at Zion.
Hmm.
That's just what they're saying.
Hmm.
Let's continue on. Let's continue on. This is easy for me. It says, there is no beauty that we should desire him. Right?
Yeah.
He is despised and rejected by men, a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief. And we hid as if it were our faces from him. He was despised and we did not esteem him. Right?
Hmm.
This is the way Isaiah's writing. He's writing on
Yeah.
the condition of Israel. This isn't
There
this
you
is
go.
this is not nation speaking. Oh, yeah, Chris, but 99% of Tanakh only Hebrews. See, you got to yell at the people to talk to them and try to convince them that other Tanakh only Hebrews believe this. Why you believe this? Because I'm not that 99%. I'm that 1%, which this book labels a righteous remnant. Maybe that could be it, Josh. That 1% chance. right?
Mhm. Mhm.
It says he is despised and rejected of men, a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief. And we hid as if it our faces from him, and he was despised, and we did not esteem him.
Mhm.
Surely he has borne our griefs. I want to continue to read.
Mhm.
And carried our sorrows, because what I'm going to read next is going to line all this up. Surely he has borne our griefs and carried our sorrows, yet we esteemed him stricken, right? Smitten
Mhm.
by God and afflicted. But he was wounded for our transgressions.
Right.
He was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement for our peace was upon him. Okay, I want to stop there at chapter 5, and I want to just call this out.
Okay.
Jeff Lewis, a war,
You mean verse
Zadok,
5?
verse 5. I'm going to ask these guys this because they
Okay.
won't answer it on the board. It clearly tells you right here in verse 5, but he was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised
Mhm.
for our iniquities. The chastisement for our peace was upon him. And by his stripes we are healed. When was
Mhm.
Israel healed after the death of JC? When Herod was still chopping their heads off?
Mhm.
I asked that question and they don't want to answer it.
Right.
But they will add, this is what they're very slick at. They'll ask a question: when was Israel responsible for Israel's sins? Sure, I can read that to you. I called right up there and happened to be the first caller. Don't answer the phone, Sal, if it's Chris Harris. Don't answer the phone, right? And we're going to read why he didn't want to answer the phone, because
Right.
you guys are stuck in the belief. We understand that humans cannot be sacrificed for your sin, because if that's the case, when was the Most High, if the Most High accepted the sacrifice, when was the Most High's face turned back towards him, towards them? It never was.
Mhm.
Let's continue, because he's gonna make another counter
Mhm.
video after hearing this. Let's see. Psalms the 44th chapter. And I want to go here because he did not want to read this. And it says, let me start at verse 9. But you have cast us off and put us to shame, and you do not go out with our armies. You make us turn back from the enemy, and those who hate us have taken spoil for themselves. You have given us up like sheep intended for food, and have scattered
Mhm.
us among the nations. You sell your people for next to nothing, and are not enriched by selling them. You make us a reproach to our neighbors, a scorn and a derision to all those around us. You make us a
Mhm.
byword amongst the nations, a shaking of the head among the peoples. Didn't we just read this in the first four verses of Isaiah 53?
Yep.
Let's continue. Verse 15, my dishonor is continually before me, and the shame of my face has covered me, because of the voice of him who reproaches and reviles, because of the enemy and the avenger. Here we come. We're going to be done in a minute. All this has
Mhm.
come upon us, but we have not forgotten you. Here comes the key part that he did not want to read. Nor have we dealt falsely with your covenant. They're innocent,
Yeah.
but they're bearing their father's iniquity. And I'm going to continue to show that. Our heart has not turned back, nor has our steps departed from your way. But you have severely broken us in the place of jackals and covered us with the shadow of death. If we have forgotten the name of our God or stretched out our hands to a foreign God, would not God search this out? For he knows the secrets of the heart. Watch this. Now we just read in verse um 16 that they have not dealt falsely with the covenant in verse 17, right? That they're being
Mhm.
innocent, they're innocent. It's telling you that, right?
Right.
Let's read verse 20. Let's read verse 21. Let's go read. Let's read verse 22. It says, yet for your sake we are killed all day long. We are accounted as sheep for the slaughter.
But
I
wait,
thought you
Chris.
said, uh-huh.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm just. If Israel's so righteous, why are they getting slaughtered? How is it
Thank
that
you.
Israel is going to be righteous? They can't be righteous. Give me what I
Thank
want.
you. That's why he didn't want to read it. But instead, he went into the I'ma defame Chris's name. And they all the believers, the Cretans, are high-fiving each other. Look that word up, Josh. Don't answer the
See,
phone if it's Chris, Sal.
and let me say something too, because what he'll like to do. See, they're all talking about me and blah blah. Look, if he wouldn't get up and say, "You guys are arrogant or grandstanding," if you guys aren't playing game, you guys are playing games. You guys are doing this. You know, just do your lesson and shut up. Do the
Thank
lesson.
you. Do the lesson.
We wouldn't have to defend ourselves if he would watch his mouth. That's all. We wouldn't be having to do this. But he want to call people's names, say, see, they're this way. And that's not I'm not finna have someone smearing me. That's just the way it is. And he knows that.
Correct.
So this is the thing too. Now this is the thing. This is what they don't what you say what you're showing, what they don't understand is yes, how is it that we can say Israel is righteous and yet punished? How can that happen? Well, again, if you would have read the context, like I had read Isaiah 52 and 1, right? Well, look
Right?
at verse 2. This tells you. Verse 2 says, this is Isaiah 52 and 2. We already established we're talking about Zion and they're supposed to get beautiful garments. But why? It says in verse 2, shake thyself from the dust, arise and sit down, O Jerusalem. Look, loose thyself from the bands of thy neck, O captive daughter of Zion. Redemption, redeemed, right?
Right?
Now, we got context of what 52 is talking about. And you go down, it's going to tell you how this happens. It says, well, it even says in verse 3, for thus saith the Lord, ye have sold yourselves for naught, and ye shall be redeemed without money. It goes down to, let's see, okay, 7, verse 7, how beautiful upon the mountains are the feet of him that bringeth good tidings, that publisheth peace, that bringeth good tidings of good, that publisheth salvation, that saith unto Zion, thy God reigneth, thy watchmen shall lift. And I know it says he, they're going to say, oh, it's Jesus. Let's keep reading. 8 says, thy watchmen shall lift up the voice. With the voice together shall they sing. See how it said watchmen, but it's talking about all a group of people, right?
That's
For
right.
they shall see eye to eye when the Lord shall bring, when? When the Lord shall bring again Zion. This is when they get the beautiful garments and blase, blase. Okay. This is why we can describe Israel as both righteous and punished, because we're talking about the context of they were first in captivity, then they get redeemed and rescued and cleansed, so to speak. Verse 10, the Lord hath made, look, the Lord hath made bare his holy arm in the eyes of all the nations. How did he do that, Chris? Oh, we just read it. Because he's going to bring again Zion from captivity. That's the holy arm. That's how the Lord is going to bear his holy arm in the sight of all the nations, and all the ends of the earth shall see the salvation of our God. So now we know, like I said before, you don't start in verse 1 and say, who have believed our report, and don't tell you what the report is. This is the report. You see what I'm saying? What's the
We're
holy
reading it.
arm? We just read it. That's the
We're
holy
reading
arm of
it.
the Lord.
We're
You
reading it.
see?
That's
So
it.
now it goes, yeah. So now this is where it goes into let's see. Depart ye, go ye out from thence, touch no unclean thing, go ye out from the midst of her, be ye clean, that bear the vessels of the Lord. Chris, You have to be
What's
clean
up?
to bear the vessels of the Lord, right?
That's right.
You can't be unrighteous, right?
You cannot be unrighteous.
Chris, is this talking about Jesus that has to bear the vessels of the Lord?
No, this is talking about the people of Israel and its priests who bear the
Is that hard
vessels
to
of the
see?
Lord.
Did we play a game to say it's not Jesus, or is that what it says?
That's what it says. We didn't play a game. We read it word for
All
word.
righty. There we go. So basically, it's talking about the priesthood is going to be cleansed. And it tells you that when that happens, they go. What you read, and that goes now, you if you keep reading, it goes in, and they'll sprinkle many nations. All the nations are going to be saved because this happens when they're brought out of captivity. Now we go into verse 1. Yay, we have context. Okay. Who has believed our report? Whether you want to say nations are talking, it's not really nations talking, it's a parable.
It's a
It's
parable.
describing what the nations think of it. Right. It's telling you what the nations think of it, but it's not really literally like the nations talking. It's telling you what the nations think.
No, Joel.
If you want to say,
99% of the other Hebrews believe that it's the nations. So you have to say that it's the nations because the majority say it's the nations talking. Don't answer the phone, Sal, if it's Chris.
give me what I want. I know. Okay. So look, okay, it says, who who has believed our report? That's a question. And to whom is the arm of the Lord revealed? They always start here. Don't you? It would seem to me if something starts with a question, you have to investigate what it's talking about. It's asking you a question. That means you have to have some pre knowledge. Okay. So we just got the pre knowledge. So now, if you go down to, you already read most, let's see, I want to go to where it talks about wounded for, let me see. Let's go to Zephaniah real quick.
Sure.
Zephaniah 2. I'm gonna be done in a minute. Zephaniah. Let me see where I saw that. Give me 1 second. Zephaniah 3, rather. Zephaniah 3. Um, I want to go to the verse in 53 where it says, "Done no, spoke no unrighteousness or spoke no deceit." You know which verse that is in Isaiah 53? Let's see.
Isaiah 53. Read that. I had just got a text message that
Oh,
came
okay,
through.
that's
Okay,
fine.
tell me again.
Where's that one? Where's the verse that says that they spoke no deceit
They
in
spoke
Isaiah
no
53?
deceit. And
Something
Isaiah,
like
let me
that.
go
Yeah,
back to
it
Isaiah
says,
53. There
okay,
was no deceit in his
it's,
mouth.
oh, yeah, yeah, there it is. Okay. Oh, wait. I don't see it. Let me see. It's kind of dark in here. Let me see.
By his knowledge. Okay, let me get it. By his stripes we are healed.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny when we're looking for it,
I know, right?
and then we can't
I
find
know.
it. It says, "But he
I
was
know.
oppressed and afflicted. He opened not his mouth. He was
Here it
led
is,
as a
verse 9.
yeah." Verse 9.
Got it. Yep. Okay. Verse 9, it says, "And he made his grave with the wicked and with the rich." And again, parables, it says he, but it doesn't mean it's talking about an individual. We saw that
Right.
already. It says, "And he made his grave with the wicked and with the rich." We were talking about captivity, right, Chris?
Mm-hmm.
Right. He made his grave with the wicked and with the rich in his death, because he had done no violence, neither was any deceit in his mouth, yet it pleased the Lord to bruise him. Now, why does it say he's done no violence, neither was there any deceit in his mouth? We started out in 52 talking about an Israel that is redeemed. So now it's saying this redeemed Israel was first bruised, was first in captivity.
Mm-hmm.
How do we know that? Let's look at Zephaniah and see something here. It says Zephaniah 3 and 1. Woe to her that is filthy and polluted, to the oppressing city. She obeyed not the voice. She received not correction. She trusted not in the Lord. She drew not near to her God. Uh, Give me 1 second.
Her princes and her midst are roaring lions. Her judges are
Uh,
evening wolves. that leave not a bone till morning. Her prophets are insolent and treacherous people. Her priests have polluted the
Mhm.
sanctuary. They have done violence to the law. The Lord is
Here we go.
righteous. Go
Mhm.
ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate it. I found it now. I'm all off. Okay. I don't want to read the whole thing because,
Okay.
but we can see it's talking about Israel. But if you go to verse 11, in that day shall thou be shall thou not be ashamed for all thy doings, wherein thou was transgressed, when thou hast transgressed against me, for then I will take away out of the midst of thee them that rejoice in thy pride, and thou shalt no more be haughty because of my holy mountain. Just like Isaiah 52, they're going to no more be haughty, right? I will also leave in the midst of thee an afflicted and poor people, and they shall trust in the name of the Lord. 13, the remnant of Israel. Remnant. That means they've been redeemed. The remnant of Israel shall do no iniquity, nor speak lies, neither shall a deceitful tongue be found in their mouth. For they shall feed and lie down, and none shall make them afraid. When does that happen? It talked about the captivity in Isaiah 52. When that captivity is turned around is when that's supposed to happen. We already read that. Now
We
we're going to
already
get
read it.
back to this Jesus song. 14. Sing, O daughter of Zion. Didn't we talk? We already seen a song, didn't we? You already read the other
That's right.
song, right? Talking about the same
Yep.
thing, redemption of Israel, right? They got a
Yep.
song about that. You know that? It says,
Yep.
sing, O daughter of Zion, and shout, O Israel, be glad and rejoice with all the heart, O daughter of Jerusalem. The Lord hath taken away thy judgments, and has cast out thine enemy. Okay? But look, back to Isaiah 53. If you keep reading, I'm not gonna go through all this, but I want to get to the part that matches up, because we can already see this matches up with Isaiah 52 being the children of Israel from a captivity state to a righteous state. Now he mentioned this though. I got to say this. Therefore will I divide him a portion with the great. Remember that? That's verse 12. Isaiah 53 and 12. Therefore will I divide him a portion with the great. Now, Chris, Jesus is going to rule alongside somebody else, or other people rather.
Right.
Someone's going to divide Jesus a portion. Does that sound right?
No,
Somebody has to
doesn't.
divide him a portion. And he shall divide the spoil with the strong, because he hath poured out his soul unto death, and he was numbered with the transgressors, and he bare the sin of many. Remember, in the sprinkle many nations in verse 15 in Isaiah 52, sprinkle many nations, and it says they're going to be in charge of the things of the temple, or the vessels, right? Keep
Correct.
it in context.
Keeping in
Talking about the
context.
priesthood,
Yep.
right? So this is what were those things used for? The salvation of the nations,
Correct.
cleansing the nations. That's what the priests are for. That's how it said, even in Isaiah 52, that the nations are going to be saved. That's the salvation of the nations, the redemption of Israel. Why? Because they're the priests. That's why it says, um, he bears the sin of many and made intercession for the transgressors. See?
That's it.
Well, that's if you believe the report, right, Chris? That's if you believe the report. Okay.
The first,
But look,
what's
this is the
already
other
been
thing though.
written.
Check this out. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? But look, this is the thing. Check this out. 54. It says sing. Well, there's no 54 really, but we'll just say 54 because that's what our book reads right now. It says,
Hmm.
sing, O barren, that thou didst not bear. Wait a minute. First of all, we already saw that song, didn't we? But it says,
Hmm.
sing, O barren. Now, wait a minute. You said Jesus was afflicted for people's sins. You said Jesus was not esteemed, not looked at as beautiful or whatever. You said he was the tender plant. You said all that about Jesus. Chris, I didn't know Jesus was barren. Did you know Jesus was trying to get pregnant? I didn't know that.
I didn't either, man. Or could that be
I didn't know that.
allegorical
That's
for
news to me.
Jerusalem?
That's news to me. So Jesus was barren. Now, what they're going to do is they're going to say, well, you know, that's Isaiah 54. This is the problem with that. No chapter division. Now, you're going to tell me, Chris, that Isaiah 52 is talking about the children of Israel redemption and captivity. Isaiah 53 starts out referring to that in verse 1, but the rest of Isaiah 53, so you're going to say Isaiah sat down on Monday and wrote Isaiah 52 and said, and then Tuesday sat down and said, well, Monday he's going to write about Israel, and then Tuesday he's going to come back and write about Jesus. And then
Right.
on
Like,
Wednesday, he's going to write another chapter about Israel again. And by the
I
way,
like to,
Tuesday when he sat down to write about referring to talking about Israel. That doesn't make any sense. It's all the same. It's all runs together. You can't be like 52 talks about Israel, captivity and redemption, but then 53 don't. And then you go right back in the same story in 54. Let's keep reading. 54 says, sing, O barren. We're supposed to know what the barren is by what we just read in 53. Why would it just start out talking about the barren and we don't know what it's talking about? Right?
correct.
The barren's got to be Israel. It says that did not bear. Why not? Captivity. Right? That did not bear. Break forth into singing and cry aloud, like Zephaniah, that thou didst not travail with child. Oh my God, that's that seed. Remember, he said, he shall not see his seed, right?
Correct.
Israel. See, they keep talking about that seed. See, I can look. We're going to read about the seed. It's and it says, for more are children of the desolate than the children of the married wife, saith the Lord. Wait, what children, Chris? I thought we were talking about somebody on a cross. What children? Why is Isaiah talking about the children of Israel in 54? Did he forget that he was just talking about Jesus Christ? I guess he forgot. So now, let's keep going. It says, I want to skip down. It says, verse 5, for thy maker is thine husband. Remember, the wife is Israel. We just read that. The wife. Thy maker is thine husband, not Jesus's husband. Thy maker is Israel's husband, thine husband. The Lord of hosts is his name, and thy Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel, the God of the whole earth shall he be called. For the Lord hath called thee as a woman forsaken. And that's another thing, Chris. Why is it that that person in Zephaniah that didn't say any deceit that we read about, they didn't speak deceit? Why can't that be Jesus in Zephaniah?
Don't answer the phone, Sal.
Why aren't you saying Zephaniah 3 is Jesus? It's the same thing as in Isaiah 53, same wording. Or let's do this.
Don't answer the phone, Sal.
I know. Give me what I want. You know. But look, it says, the Lord hath called thee. Okay, the Lord has called thee. Why aren't they saying this thee is Jesus in 54, Chris? Why aren't they doing that? They said everything else was Jesus, but when you come here, they won't dare to make this thee Jesus. Why? Talking about the same thing. Why aren't they calling this Jesus? Well, that's Israel. Oh, okay. Oh, that's it. Oh, okay. That's Israel. I understand. I understand. So Isaiah forgot that the report was Israel in Isaiah 53 and 1, and decided to talk about Jesus, and then just wants you to just jump into the barren woman just out of nowhere. Again, no chapter division. Which again, it still matches up. You're talking about somebody that was beaten. You're talking about somebody that was in captivity because of the nations. And you're talking about somebody that was redeemed, and somebody that is not going to speak iniquity when they get redeemed. That all matches up. So this seed again, and then I'll be done. It says, thy Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel, the God of the whole earth. It says, For the verse 6, 54 and 6, for the Lord hath called thee as a woman forsaken. Why hast thou forsaken me?
Mm, mm, mm.
Jesus was forsaken. Anyway,
But,
it says the woman was
but wait,
forsaken.
wait, 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 wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. I want to go back there. It said like a forsaken woman. It says like
Hmm.
a forsaken woman. It clearly says that. I thought Jesus was a man, bruh.
Wait, you breaking up? Say that again.
Let's. I said Jesus was a man, bruh, not a woman.
Well, that's Isaiah 54. Give me what I want.
See, 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 see. And boy, I told you he was gonna do this. I told you, Christians just wasting everybody's time. Got all in your
It's a
emotions,
woman because it's Israel. Okay.
right?
Oh. And it said she. Is that Mary Magdalene because it says she? Is that an
Right.
actual person in the New Testament because it says she?
Correct.
Her? See what I'm saying? It's poetic talking. And you got to keep it in context of what it's been talking about, which is Zion. Pretty simple. Okay. So let's get to the seed part. Okay.
Oh, this is my
So
favorite
we already
part.
read it really
This is
when it
my
said barren.
favorite part. Yeah.
Hmm. For the Lord had called thee as a woman forsaken and grieved in spirit and a wife of youth when thou wast refused captivity, saith thy God, went when I have forsaken thee. But with great mercies will I what? Gather thee. It don't have to do with the redemption or the gathering, but then why did Isaiah put that there then? If it's
Right.
talking
You
about
know
a
more
man
than
on a
Isaiah,
cross,
huh?
you see what I'm saying? Oh, I know. Because
Don't
we're going
answer
by the
the
report.
phone, Sal.
Believe the report. We're playing game. Are we playing games, Chris, or are we just simply believing the report?
We're believing a report on who this was written about.
That's all it is. Gathering of Israel. Okay. Seed. Okay. So it says gathering. What verse was it? Oh, I mercies will I gather thee. In a little wrath I hid my face from thee from a moment. They were talking about the hiding the face. Remember that? I
Mm-hmm.
hid my face from thee for a moment, but with everlasting kindness will I have mercy on thee, saith the Lord thy Redeemer. Uh, 10, for the mountains shall depart and the hills be removed, but my kindness shall not depart from thee, neither shall the covenant of my peace be removed, saith the Lord that have mercy on thee. That's that covenant in Jeremiah 31. See that? New covenant. Oh, thou afflicted. Not when Jesus died, okay? the, the covenant happens when they're gathered. You know what I'm saying? Okay, that's getting into other stuff. Okay. Oh, thou afflicted, verse 11. Tossed with tempest and not comforted, behold, I will lay thy stones with fair colors and lay thy foundations with sapphires. Uh,
Well,
trying to get to
let me
that
add
seed
something right
part.
there. Let's
Hmm.
see who the afflicted one was, because they'll say, "Oh, you in Isaiah 54." But
That's
remember,
right.
it tells you right here in Isaiah 53 and 7, he was oppressed and afflicted. Now I want to show everybody something because me and
Mm.
you have answers, right?
But it
We're
said he,
correlating
Chris.
the. Oh my goodness. Let's find out. Let's go to Isaiah 48, 48 and 9, right? 48.
Okay.
Because no, remember, it says he was oppressed. That's
Hmm.
past tense. Okay? We're talking about a
Yeah.
redemption for a people.
There you go.
Let's go to past tense, right?
Mhm.
And we're gonna see who was afflicted and why they were being afflicted. Let's go to Isaiah 48, verses 9 through 10. And it reads, for my name's sake, I will defer my anger, and for my praise, I will restrain it from you. So that, wait a minute, the Most High said he does not share his praise with anyone else. His praise is Israel. And I'm going to do a lesson on that. His praise
Mm.
is Israel. Let's continue. He says, and for my praise, I will restrain it from you so that I do not cut you off. See, he wants his people to praise him.
Mhm.
Verse 10, behold, I have refined you but not as silver. I have tested you in the furnace of affliction. For my own sake, for my own sake, for my own sake, I will do it. For how should my name be profaned? And I will not give my glory to another. Boom. So here it is. We got Isaiah writing that Israel is this suffering servant. Then he writes about the suffering servant, and then it's Jesus. And then he goes into the next chapter. Let's deal with chapters because this is what we're writing. This is what we're dealing with, right? We're dealing with chapters. So let's deal with chapters, albeit we know there were no chapters. This was all one complete thought. Then right here in Isaiah 53, it's talking about Jesus. And then all of a sudden we go right back to Isaiah 54 and it starts talking about Israel again.
Mm-hmm.
The continuity is off because according to the law, and I love adjudicating things through the law in this book, Deuteronomy 18, verse 22, this is the law of a prophet. It says, when a prophet speaks in the name of the Lord, if the thing does not happen or come to pass, that is the thing which the Lord has not spoken. The prophet has spoken presumptuously, and you shall not be afraid of him. So this has to come to pass. But when we read all these things in past tense, it's come to pass.
Yep.
Don't answer the phone, Sal. If it's Chris. Oh, I'm sorry. Me and you just hate Jesus, right? Me and you just hate him because he was fighting for his people, according to the text, because he was trying to wake his people up and cuss out them sellout priests that was in the temple that got kicked out. These temples got placed. These priests got placed in there in 322 BCE when the Greeks came through there and carried out all their prized possessions. But that's another story for another time.
Mm-hmm. Now look. Now look, now remember the seed part, right? That ties right into it. Check this out. And look, and at the end of this chapter, we're going to see something that's just crazy. 54 and 13. Isaiah 54 and 13. It says, and all thy children shall be taught of the Lord. All of thy children shall be taught of the Lord, and great shall be the peace of thy children.
Whoa.
Why is it
wait a
mentioning
minute.
that? Oh, wait. Because they were barren, and he shall see his seed, won't he?
Whoa, wait a minute. Also, by his knowledge, my righteous servant shall justify many. The Most High's knowledge.
Yep.
Let's deal with that seed part right quick. Let's go to Deuteronomy 28 because everybody deals with the cursings, but don't nobody want to deal with the blessings. And it says right here, when it comes to that seed, check this out, as LaRon Campbell be saying. Shout out to LaRon Campbell. Watch this. It said, yet it pleased the Lord to bruise him. He has put him to grief. We got to deal with these and see who this he is.
Yeah.
Right?
What verse you at?
I'm in Isaiah 53 and 10, but I'm gonna go to I'm gonna contrast it with Deuteronomy 28, 1 through 4. Watch this.
1 through 4.
But let me finish reading Isaiah 53. Load up Deuteronomy 28, verses 1 through 4. Get that ready. Watch this. It says right here in Isaiah 53 and 10, yet it pleased the Lord to bruise him. He has put him to grief. When you make his soul an offering for sin. The word there for sin was guilt. It's talking about the guilt offering. You don't need no blood for that. It's a sham, a guilt offering. That means cry out unto the Lord, right? Pray for forgiveness. Watch this. When you do that, as we saw with Daniel, as we see what Solomon said to do, in 1 Kings chapter 8, it said cry out unto the Lord so he could forgive you, right? It said, once you do that, you shall prolong once he shall see his seed, he shall prolong his days, and the pleasure of the Lord shall prosper. Let's get that Deuteronomy 28, 1 more. And this will blow your mind.
Jesus did not, right? Jesus did not
prolong
his
Lord
days,
trying to bless them.
All right. Jesus got killed, so he didn't prolong his days, but yeah.
And when you attack it like that, once again, Isaiah 53 and 5. Christians answer this. It says, but he was wounded for our transgressions, he was bruised for our iniquities, and the chastisement for our peace was upon him. And by his stripes we are healed. When were they healed? Don't answer the phone, Sal, if it's Chris. I'm going to keep saying that. You sound like a little girl. Let's continue on. Now, watch this. I'm going to load this up. And this kills it every time. Now it shall come to pass, if you diligently obey the voice of the Lord your God, to observe carefully all his commandments, which I command you today, that the Lord your God will set you on high above all the nations on the earth. And all these blessings shall come upon you and overtake you, because you obey the voice of the Lord your God. Watch this. Blessed shall you be in the city, blessed shall you be in the country, blessed shall you be the fruit of your body. I think that's seed.
I think that is a seed, right? Yeah.
Let's continue on. The produce of your ground and the increase of your herds, the increase of your cattle and the offspring of your flocks. Blessed shall be your basket and your kneading bowl. Blessed shall be you when you come in. Blessed shall you be when you go out. The Lord will cause your enemies who rise against you to, the Lord will cause your enemies who rise against you to be defeated before your face. They shall come out against you one way and flee against you 7 ways. This never happened after his death. When were they healed? Because the Romans, Israel became a province for the Romans to rule over.
Mm.
When was it? I just want them to answer that question. When were they healed?
Give me what I want.
But we see them being healed
Right.
in totality with Isaiah 53 going into Isaiah 54. Because Isaiah 48, verse 20, clearly tells you, watch this. Isaiah chapter 8, verse 20. Go forth from Babylon, flee from the Chaldeans with a voice of singing. Wait a minute. Isaiah 54, sing, O barren. Man, let's continue.
Wait a
With a
minute.
voice
Wait
of.
a minute, Chris.
Mhm.
I don't think did Jesus ever sing a song? I don't remember him singing a song. Uh, did you remember Jesus singing a song?
I remember him being stabbed on that tree
Anyway, go
saying,
ahead.
help. But watch this.
Yeah.
Watch this. It says, with a voice of, this is Isaiah 48:20. Go forth from Babylon, flee from the Chaldeans with a voice of singing. Declare, proclaim this, utter to the end of the earth. Say the Lord has redeemed his servant Jacob. And they did not thirst when he led them through the deserts. He caused the waters to flow from the rock he caused the waters to flow from the rock for them. He also split the rock and the waters gushed out. Talking about Israel. They were
Mm-hmm.
redeemed. Isaiah 53 is a retelling of their affliction. And y'all can't deal with this now. It's like me talking to
Hey.
you and saying, "Yeah, Joel, I was watching the Lions game and Stafford threw for like 400 yards, 5 touchdowns. World War II is getting ready to happen in about 16 days, and then in the fourth quarter, Matthew Stafford threw a 70-yard bomb to Calvin Johnson wide open in the end zone for a touchdown." They have to reach and try and make
Yeah.
something about them in the middle of a thought because
Right.
they were taught to do that because the New Testament told them to do that. Paul
That's it.
tried to do that in the book of Acts. And people were walking away like, nah, Paul, that's not it, bro. And he was using the law and the prophets. He was not using the New Testament. It clearly tells you that in the book of Acts.
Yep.
Don't answer the
No, I'm
phone,
gonna
Sal.
do. And then back to the whole this is something else that's funny about if you continue in Isaiah 54 too, like
Mm-hmm.
we saw the children, we saw the seed, but check this out. This just really just brings it all home. It says 14, verse 14, in righteousness shall thou be established, thou shalt be far from oppression. In righteousness, right?
Mm-hmm.
Righteousness. They're
Mm-hmm.
clean now, right? For thou shalt not fear, you know, for thou shalt not fear, and from terror, for it shall not come near thee. Now, it says, behold, they shall surely gather together, but not by me. Let me see. Okay, 17. Now look, no weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper, and every tongue that shall rise against thee in judgment shall thou shalt condemn. This is the heritage of the servants of the Lord, and their righteousness is of me, saith the Lord.
Mm, mm, mm,
So
mm, mm, mm.
every tongue that shall rise against thee in judgment, thou shalt condemn. So again, that thee, is that a person? And then there's another thing I'm trying to find. You know that scripture I went to in Psalms where it says it talks about the Lord and the Lord, where it's really talking about a king. I think that's Psalms, because that is, it says that's Jesus in Psalms, but it's in the same place where it says that Isaiah 53 or one of the other scriptures is Jesus too. So if you kill one, then you can kill both at the same time. Is
You
what I'm getting at.
that's right. You kill them all at the
But
same
I'm
time.
trying to find. Let me see if I can find it right quick. You can go ahead until I find it. But that's
Okay.
it. That's. I think now that we know that Isaiah 53, now that we've demolished Jesus in Isaiah 53, you wanted to add or, but I wanted to just say one more thing about that scripture in Psalms, and then that's it for me because I think that
That'd be
pretty
it for me
much,
too. I want to tell the
yeah.
audience and anybody that's listening, next week we going into the Nile Valley. We going to where all this began. We going
Mm,
home, baby. We going to the
mm-hmm,
Nile Valley. Real
mm-hmm,
talk, and y'all gonna have to deal with that.
mm-hmm.
And the Apocrypha is not history. Jeff Lewis talking about, yeah, we dealt with history. ABT, y'all are absolute baby talk or all but the truth. And I said it. It is a fucking, excuse me, it is a shame what y'all are teaching people. All that hooping and hollering and yelling and not letting people reason together when you call up there. Whenever I do a lesson, I answer every question clearly, don't I, Jeff Lewis? But whenever we ask you all for a question, y'all hoop, holler, dance, and run because you can't answer it. You have to believe that there's human sacrifice when the Creator already said he does not accept human sacrifice. So you have to go against the law. Manasseh, King Manasseh did that. He sacrificed his sons. And the Most High said, you have done an abomination by sacrificing even, he said, sacrificing your daughters, sons and daughters, even sacrificing innocent blood. That thing never came into my heart for you to do something like
Mm-hmm.
this. You guys are fools. You are fool to believe in this. Use a
Well, that's what
fool.
happens.
Use a,
That's what
let me say
happens
this
when
again. Use
you.
a fool if you believe that. I'm going to say it one more time. Use a fool to believe that. And I'll drag Josh through the mud in the debate on this, and he know it. Don't answer the phone, Sal. I was
Well, that's what
developing some
happens.
respect for you, Josh, but I lost it all after that. It's gone, bruh. You just a cretin, a stupid
Well, that's what happens.
Christian.
You know, when you're a Hosea 11 uh, fake parable, Hosea 11 fake parable tep hustler, then that's what happens. People fall for that kind of stuff, and you know, there's no accountability, but yet you can talk about everybody else. My thing is just simply, you know, why can't we all deal with each other like we're all wrong? Let's
Right.
deal with each other like we're all wrong. It's an even playing field, and then anything that someone brings up is game. Nothing is above anything else. You know what I'm saying? I love it like
Yeah.
that because it's like we're kids in a playground. Like anything goes. Like, what you got over here? I got this. Oh, cool. What's that? Oh, let me play with that toy. Let me play with that. Okay, this toy is not a good one. Let's look at this toy. Okay, what you got over there? That's how it should be. Not that, you know, then people over there are trying to do this and that, and these people are evil and these people are wicked because they don't agree with what I deal with. You have to hold yourself at the same standard of everybody else. You know, that's all I'm saying. Like, we're not special. You know what I'm saying? Like, we can all be wrong, and you know, and the only reason why we have to come off so strong is because, you know, our names were brought up, so we got to defend ourselves. That's all. It's
That's
not to say
all.
that somebody's evil. but we're not finna let somebody else tell that we're evil. Straight up. That's all it's about. It's not finna happen. So I'm trying to find that one. It's Psalms. Let me see. Well, anyway, we don't really even have to deal with it. I don't know. Did you want to deal with that one? That's the one where it says it's talking about a king, and they're saying the Lord is thy Lord.
Oh, I know which one you're talking about. I
Oh
think
wait, let
that's.
me look the chat. I haven't even checked the chat. Let me see who's in the chat. Anybody in the chat? Let me see.
I
Apocrypha
don't even
does
know if they
have
know we
some
went
history
live.
within the text. Yeah, there's some people. It's like 12 viewers. There's some people.
Oh, snap. Shout out to everybody
Yeah.
listening.
Yeah. We didn't forget about y'all. We just been into what we doing.
Right.
One person saying there is some historical. Yes, there's historical stuff in the Apocrypha, just like the Bible, but it's not based on what actually happened in history. They like there's historical figures, like you got Antiochus Epiphanes and you got Cyrus, like we just read. But I don't think that happened to Cyrus where he went in with Daniel and there was an actual dragon in there. You understand what I'm saying? Like
Right.
they use actual stuff and then they make myths about it because it's not so. It was never supposed to be. This is a historical document of what actually happened. They're telling you a story so you can grasp a concept. That's what they were doing.
Correct. Correct.
But yeah,
It's
but
parables and allegory, nothing more.
that's it. That's it.
Just like most of the Bible.
That's it. Yeah, exactly. That's what we were really getting to, right? I mean, it's all pretty much done the same way. That's why the Apocrypha really was part of the Septuagint, which is what we know as the Bible, because it's all the same type of work. Just like I mentioned Jonah. You know, you're gonna be
You know,
swallowed up by a fish and then survive 3 days underwater, stuff like that.
correct. They
You see what I'm saying?
somebody said, shout out to Jay Indigenous. We gonna rap, man. Sherry A
Yep.
said, okay, this is actually blowing my mind. It's supposed to, because you're learning now. You're not being force fed something that we've been taught since we've been over here. We're actually listening to our
Mm-hmm.
people's writings
Mm-hmm.
because this is all African culture. We have to learn how to get rid of that Greek nonsense. If you want to deal with Yeshua and the Nazarenes, it'd be better to pick up the Dead Sea Scrolls, and you can read him right there.
Mm-hmm.
She said they were healed after his death. No, they were not healed because every concept of Israel being healed in the Torah, Tanakh, in the writings, they're freed. There's no oppression. They're being blessed. But then in the New Testament, he's dead. We bless. We're getting our heads chopped off, all in his name. We can go to heaven now. That's a mental slavery, and we got to get out of this.
Right.
I'm gonna say something to her because it's not her fault what they were taught. I want to read something in the book of Isaiah because Isaiah, I always call it the New Testament killer. Isaiah 26. I want to read something since you guys think
Mm-hmm.
you're saved in a new name, according to Acts, the 3rd chapter. And it says, it says, this is Acts, Isaiah 26. I want to read this real quick, Joel, if I got time. It says, in
Mm-hmm.
that day, this song will be sung in the land of Judah. We have a strong city. God will appoint salvation for walls and bulwarks. Open the gates, that the righteous nation which keeps the truth may enter in. That's keeping the law. You will keep him in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on you. That's the creator. Because you're going to find out when you continue to continuously read. Because he trusts in you. Trust in the Lord forever. For in Yah, the Lord is everlasting strength. For he brings down those who dwell on high. The lofty city, he lays it low. He lays it low to the ground. He bringeth it down to the dust. The foot shall tread it down. The feet of the poor and the steps of the needy. The way of the just is uprightness, O most upright. You weigh the paths of the just, yea, in the way of your judgments, O Yah, we have waited for you. The desire of our soul is for your name and the remembrance of you, not nobody else. With my soul, I have desired you in the night. Yea, by my spirit within me, I will seek you early. For when your judgments are in the earth, the inhabitants of the world will learn righteousness. Okay, let's skip down, right? Let's go to verse 10. Paul say, oh, we under grace. Let grace be shown to the wicked, yet he will not learn righteousness. In the land of uprightness, he will deal unjustly and will not behold the majesty of Yah. Let's continue. Still don't believe me? One name only? Let's see. Lord, when your hand is lifted up, they will not see, but they will not see, and they will see and be ashamed for their envy of people. For their envy of people. Yea, the fire of your enemies shall devour them. Lord, you will establish peace for us, for you have also done all our works in us. O Lord, our God, masters besides you have dominion over us. But by you only we make mention of your name. That's it. It's just one name. So while you guys are out here fighting for Jesus and fighting for Jesus and fighting for Jesus, Jesus is fake. And you've been fooled by somebody like Josh and the Absolute Baby Talk crew. You've been fooled. You've been lied to. And maybe the week after next, we can deal with Jeremiah, the 31st chapter. Because I know that's where everybody going to say that new covenant was at. But nobody reads Jeremiah 31 and 30. You guys read Jeremiah 31 on down because that's what the New Testament told you to do. And y'all have been fooled by a bunch of fools who pick up this book and read it with no understanding. No blood sacrifice. Just your soul. Just your heart. Just your mind. Everything we got is already within us to rise up as a people again. So don't be a fool. Wake up. Don't answer the phone, Sal.
I see why. Yep.
Man.
Hey. That's what it is. I mean, hey.
That's what it is. There ain't no way around it.
I don't know what else.
And we really didn't even go into Isaiah 53. We were just showing you things in Isaiah 53 to show you that it's not talking about JC. You all can go to Joel's lesson on Isaiah 53, and he delved deeper into it than we did today. I just did a lesson on my channel on Isaiah 53 today. Some of which I covered today on his channel.
Out Chris's. Yeah, I was gonna say check out Chris's page if you haven't. Check out his videos. Yeah,
I'll be uploading more content. I'm gonna get better with my computer equipment, using it. I got to learn how to use all that stuff so I can be able to put together lessons. But next week it's Nile Valley. It's Nile Valley or die next week. We going home, baby. We going home. Nile Valley or die. Bottom line, that's what we're going to be delving into next week. We're going to see where it all began.
You want me to call it that? Nile Valley or die?
Nile Valley or die. We're going to see where all the sciences of faith began.
Uh-oh, I think you're breaking up.
So, anything else you want to say?
All right. I was going to deal with, there's this one scripture, but I already dealt with it in the Psalms 110 video. There's no need to go back into it. Like Jesus wasn't a king that had a wife or a queen, where it says the Lord, I can't even remember it. Anyway, we might deal with it some other time. It's already in one of my other videos, but I think we've done enough. So, hey, you guys, we appreciate y'all listening, and it's 14 watching, but they said good title. Yeah.
Hey, look, many people coming in late. Sorry they missed out, but hey, they can catch it.
Yeah, it's okay. Hey, next week, right?
With that, Next week, let's get it. Maybe we can do this every Sunday and continue to build with our people, man, and try and help wake our people up. Because I enjoy doing this, man. I tell everybody that I enjoy doing it. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
we should.
And
Yeah.
yes, I'm no longer. If anybody's listening, I'm no longer a member of the Torah Knights. Proudly not a member of the Torah Knights. Nor do I have any desire to go back to the Torah Knights.
Just so we got that out there.
And that's out there.
In case people were wondering,
I don't deal with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I and
And I
that
apologize for being with them.
and for being what?
Being with the Torah Knights. I apologize to the people for dealing with that long.
Mm-hmm. Because, like I said, the whole, and like I said, like you said, we going back home. You know what I'm saying? We have to claim our home because that's part of what's been an issue for us is trying to separate ourselves from all these different customs, cultures, and peoples when we should have stayed connected the whole time. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
Instead of dogging them out, dirty Africans and all that stuff. I have to respect them because, like I said, well, first of all, we are them because we can't really prove that we're not them. Like I said
Right.
before about the ham thing. But the whole thing is their customs are within the things we call holy anyway. A lot of, so it's things that we're doing that we're saying we're better than all these customs come from them. But we'll get into it.
Correct. They were already
So,
circumcising. They were always practicing these things.
yep.
You know?
Oh, and the sacrifices, the lamb sacrifices, we want, like I said, we'll get, it's so
Oh, we
much
going
that,
deep.
oh
We
my
going
God.
deep, man. And it's like a lifetime of learning because now, like I tell everybody, man, I feel more freer than I've ever been. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Me too.
Bottom line, I feel freer than I've ever been, man. All of these books, like the Torah, the Tanakh, these are beautiful writings. These all lead to a
Mm-hmm.
higher self. These are beautiful writings once you begin to understand them, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But ain't nobody hanging on no cross for you and died for you. Jesus was
Right. It's
executed
always,
because he was executed no differently than Martin Luther King, than Malcolm X, than Khalid Muhammad, because he was fighting against the oppressors of that time and he was gathering the people. That's all it was.
mm-hmm. And
That's
just
it.
like the stories of the Maccabees, some of the stories in the Apocrypha, you know, they're meant in the same way to get people to have some fighting spirit, fight against the oppressor, fight against, it's something to invoke something within us. That's what myths do. That's what stories, like that's why we like the comic books and stuff, because we want to like Black Panther, that makes us want to
Right.
go out and be, it's myth is powerful.
Right.
There's a purpose behind myth.
It's made to want you to elevate yourself. Like when you listen to the stories that Africans told, like when you look at the movie Black Panther when it first came on, it was telling a story of tribes
Yep.
interfighting, right?
Yep.
That's all. It was telling a story. And it's like, I'm looking at these people making all this out of this movie, and I'm like, it's just a movie, nothing
Yeah.
more. If it should
And that's
inspire you. It's just a movie.
right. And that's the whole
Nothing
Haru and
more.
Set thing. When we talk about the Haru and Set,
Mm-hmm.
Set and Haru, that whole thing, it's still, again, they repeat the same, just like in the scripture, it repeats the same concepts. It's a
Yep. The
concept they're trying to
sun,
get to you.
the
That's why he
good
put on
versus
that
evil,
mask
the
that looked just
sun
like
versus
Set.
the moon.
Yep. Like that mask that Killmonger put on looks like Set, don't
Yep.
it?
Look just like Set. You know,
I mean,
the sun versus Set, and you get sunset.
yeah.
That's it. And we got to wake up.
That's
But
it.
if anybody has any information they'd like to share on the show next week, hey, come on, because y'all can come on because I'm a student now. I'm a student all over again. You know what I'm saying? There are
Yep.
many Semitic languages that we can learn, and there are many things that we can learn to help us learn. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So that's why it's live and learn. You understand what I'm saying? So,
Yep.
yep, Jay Indigenous said the Sumerian records. Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. Exactly. Now, many people try to say Sumeria. This is a huge study that a lot of people are starting to get into. They try to say that Sumeria was older than Kemet. I don't believe that, but we're gonna see, because if they started from the bottom of the Nile and they went up and they built Egypt, I believe Sumer came from Egypt, but we never know. We don't know. So it's a great study to focus on. You know what I'm saying? I don't think they would
Yeah,
go
I think
skip
it was.
past Egypt and come back down.
Nah, I don't think it would. Yeah, I think Sumer was influenced by Egypt, not the other way around. Plus, my theory on that, I don't know, but I have a theory that the reason why someone has decided to push that is because they have to make Abraham
Yeah.
precede Egypt. Why is one reason? Because, like I said, in Josephus, it says that Abraham taught Egypt to make the pyramids. So, because people go by that, they want to make that literal history that validates the Bible. They got to make history match that. So they have to make that's this is just me. I don't know, but that's why I think they started that, because of what Josephus said. They got to make Abraham be the ultimate guy with the knowledge that taught Egypt. You know, because and another reason
The
why
real quick thing is,
that would
oh, go
kill
ahead.
Egypt. And that makes it where Egypt is not the origin. A lot of the customs, a lot of the laws, a lot of the it makes it where Egypt is no longer the source of all this stuff. And it covers, because a lot of people go in there, see that's from Egypt, see that's from Egypt. By saying that Sumer was first, that gives us a little leeway to stick Abraham in there and make it, nah, Hebrews were first. Understand what I'm saying? That's what I
Right,
think it is. That's just me though.
right, right. But I always tell people, but they didn't have a home. They didn't have their own country. They had to go
Right.
into Canaan and take it from them. Like, come on, man, stop it. Like, let's really deal
Right.
with this. And
That's right.
for the final record, I want to say something to you, Josh. You sucked. That lesson, Isaiah 53 and the Wisdom of Solomon 2 connection, sucked. It sucked. That did not talk about any redemption. You sucked. Your lesson sucked. Your whole team sucked. And I'll drag your entire squad through the mud in the debate. And if anybody else listening to y'all, use a fool for listening to that nonsense that he gave. A fool. And I said it.
Hey,
With that, I'm done.
I'm done too. Peace, y'all.
Well, with that being said, guys, we'll see y'all next week. Anybody want to come on and share some
Right.
information? Please do, because as many of y'all smarter than me and Joel when it's coming to this, we're just now learning about it.
Right.
So for
We're
that,
just
peace,
students
everybody.
now learning now. Yeah. So whatever anybody has, we just lay back and take in everything now. See, doors are open now. Nothing's closed off now. We don't have to stand on a pedestal and be like, we got all of everything and everybody else is below us. We don't have to do that no more. So anybody can be right and anybody can be wrong. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
So
That's right.
that's the
That's
playing
right. And
field
we
now
ready to
for us.
learn.
Yep.
And so,
All right, yo.
all right, y'all. Peace out.
Okay, peace. Thanks for listening.
Peace.